Yay.
Here we go.
Oh, wait, sorry. There we go. Hi, Seamus.
Hi, Robin.
How are you doing?
Good. I think I finally figured out the Instagram deal.
Really?
Yeah, because we're connected on Instagram, it
Okay.
immediately pops up and says, you've gone live.
Mm-hmm.
But if I join that, then I have to request. But then if I wait a second, your invitation comes in, and then I hit that instead of the first thing.
There we go.
The secret has been revealed.
And uncovered, unveiled.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what's that behind you today? You have a new painting to tell us about.
There it is. Here, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Whoops.
I'm over here in like Christmas holiday decoration mode,
Oh.
so it looks very festive to me. The reds and greens.
Yeah. And actually, let me flip the camera around and I'll show you. And there's can you see all that?
Oh yeah.
There's the colors and the paints, and there's the tools. Oh, and here's the setup. There's the setup.
Nice. Tell us about the setup. How'd you do that? How'd you make it?
Okay. So since we got on the topic of reds and greens and what that's all about, I started thinking, okay, well, why don't I do something that's in progress and then be able to talk about that, my thought process behind it while it's in progress. So that's the deal. That's the story on it. And anyway, I started thinking, I'm going to go to the grocery store, and I got, what can I get that's red and green? And that's how that kind of.
Because that was my next question. Did you have, those look like grapes, right?
Pardon?
Those look like red and green grape each.
They're red and green grapes, and they're real grapes. They're not like plastic cakes.
That was my question. Did you have a red and a green grape at home, or did you go purchase them?
I went to the grocery store with that in mind.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yep. How did you decide grapes over something else red and green? Or why?
Well, I started thinking about, okay, what vegetables or things like that could I get to create the still life?
Okay.
And that's what came to mind. It's like, oh, if I had so I was kind of mapping the whole thing out even before I went to the grocery store, of thinking, could I get some balance, some setup that would have both red and green in it, but also put the two opposite colors also on the different backgrounds. So that's kind of how it evolved.
Okay.
And then it's a little bit of play, because I don't have it completely in my mind. I mean, it's in my mind thinking what I might do.
Yeah.
But it's not completely figured out until I start playing with the elements. So I'd found, I looked around the studio. It's like, I got some red and I've got some green fabrics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then think about the grapes. And then when I got the grapes, then it was putting the things out on a little surface, right?
Okay.
And just playing with them, which is how it ended up with that.
So did this like yin and yang concept come to mind, or it just unfolded that way? I mean, that's where my mind goes.
Okay. This is really cool. I gotta just say, I don't know. You remember that I've mentioned that when people look at a painting and they kind of get what the thought process is? Bingo. Seriously, you nailed it. You got it, because that's exactly when I started playing with the things, right? It was like, like this is yin and yang. And that was why I settled in that thing, like the yin and yang balance of red and green. In fact, maybe we should give the painting a title, like yin and yang grapes or something like
Folks,
that.
this is the live title naming of the painting. Yin and yang grapes. This is our problem. We kind of word vomit until we find that feels right and resonates and makes sense. It's a wordplay. It's a wordplay game. To me, I love it. It's a game.
Yep. And that's what you're good at. So I'll let you play with the words, and we'll see what the title is.
Yin and yang, reds and greens, grape, balance, holiday. There's something there for sure.
There's definitely something there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we change, or I don't know, change the topic, but can you tell us like a little bit more, just insight into why the yin and yang like resonated with you? Like, why did you want to paint yin and yang concept?
You know, it's really interesting because I didn't actually think about the yin and yang
Okay.
until I laid it out.
Okay.
So what I was thinking was, okay, let me get the red grape and put it on a green background, get the green grape and put that on a red background,
Okay.
and see what that looks like. And then, okay, you know how when I look at paintings and I'm framing up any painting, I use my fingers like that to
Right.
kind of look through. And as I was looking through that framing, yeah, you
So
remember
let's teach people. So can you walk us through your frame?
the frame of the two fingers on each hand and reverse your hand, and then you can, adjust and that frames the piece.
Okay.
So then when I was looking through it, it's like, oh, that's like a yin and yang. It's like, that's when it's like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. Right. It kind of emerged. And I think, that's part of the fun process of creating a still life of, I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but moving things around until something really resonates with me. It's like, ah, there's what I want to paint about. There's what I want to express. And it was everything you mentioned in those phrasing about, there was balance, there was using the red and green, there was the yin and yang, there was all that kind of just came together about the composition. And that's how I like to work with paintings in my process of just let the visual enter my awareness without trying to absolutely control it, right? So yeah, there's the play of getting things and rearranging them, but there's also the feedback of, there it is. It's emerged from the play of what the composition is going to be that speaks to me in a non-verbal way.
Totally. I really appreciate that kind of almost like the spontaneity of that process, because if I'm doing something creative, a creative project, that resonates with how I usually do things. Of like I have an inkling of an idea, and then something comes along, like I just let it flow, kind of let it go or let go, and then something happens and it's like, oh, that's what I want to do. So I appreciate it. To me, spontaneity keeps coming up of like following that and letting it happen.
Yes, and what crosses my mind as you say that is, this is part of what's in my mind about your phrase about artful awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's artful, right? It's art, it's that thing, but the awareness is not only just, let's say, the external, what's out there, but also the awareness of my own inner process. So that's the key to this. So like, kind of get out of my gotta do this left brain thinking to just become of, what is it that I'm seeing? Like, just to become of that awareness of perception, without all the constructs of it's a grape, whatever it is. That's the verbal interpretation of our visual setting, to just get in tune with perception itself.
Very cool. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Like how do you get in tune with perception itself?
Good question. And this is really, really interesting, because for me, this is what painting is. It's a process. So just the fact of, let's say, wanting to create a somewhat representational painting of what I'm seeing,
Mm-hmm.
there's it almost requires that I get out of that thing and just start really paying attention to that visual setting.
Okay.
And then gradually the thinking goes away, and it just becomes, it's more of awareness, as you just described, about something emerges out of that focused attention on creating something.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talked about, it's what Betty Edwards has written about in her book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, of entering into this state where it's the gestalt, which, to be honest, that's I think how would I describe it? Maybe I call it the joy of painting.
What a nice phrase or experience.
Mm. Mm.
Like, it's like, does allowing that process allow you to experience more joy or experience joy while you're painting?
Yes, because it's like when I'm looking at that, when I'm painting it, a lot of other stuff goes away. I'm not thinking about the time. I'm not thinking I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to, whatever my worries or concerns are about, what somebody said or something happened in the world today. It's kind of like, it's a meditative break from
Yeah.
the churn of the mind.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
think that's my favorite kind of explanation, description yet of artful awareness. Just kind of allowing everything else to melt away while you're in the creative process.
Hmm. And it is interesting too because it is a process to get into that space
Yeah.
because the world and the mind, well, oh, I gotta do this and I gotta do this, I don't know, whatever else is there.
Yeah.
It's shifting to this, let that all go to just be present with what I'm seeing.
hmm And I think we can talk about it's not like a forcefully letting go. It's not, maybe not even consciously like, oh, I need to let go of this. It's like just almost surrendering to the experience, like just being in the experience. And then your byproduct consequence of that is you get in that state, you get in that flow or the joy of it, the focus.
Indeed, that's exactly so. It's not trying to get there. It's just have like a method of I'm going to do this and this and this and this,
hmm
set it, going to look, and then gradually the that state of awareness emerges just by in a way it's almost like a mechanical break. In a way it's sort of like meditation. It's like I'm going to get my timer out, I'm going to set it for my 20 minutes, I'm maybe
hmm
going to read a little something, and then I'm going to get so like steps that can lead to um, those moments of increased awareness or letting the world go,
hmm
right? The world's going to be there,
Yeah.
as Thomas Keating used to like to say.
Yeah.
The world will be there. Don't worry. It's going to be there when you get back.
Totally.
Right?
Not
This is
going
just a little
anywhere.
break, a little break to be able to carry that spaciousness into the world of craziness. About that.
Yeah, I'm hearing you talk about these little rituals, the rituals that guide you into meditation or that right? It's that comforting or maybe comforting, but familiar rituals of setting up all your painting tools and the setup, right?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Even cleaning the palate can be part of the ritual.
Oh yeah.
Prepare. Yep.
Cool. Anything else you want to talk about today?
Stay tuned because I think we're planning to have this as our this week's post. I think, right?
You tell me, Mr. Painter, is it
Yeah.
going to be ready?
Well, we are planning that. How about that?
There we go.
I'm planning to that it will be this week's post, so it'll be done, and we'll have more about that, and then maybe talk about it again next week, the completion of it.
Cool. For anyone that is still watching toward the end right now, can you give us a little zoom in sneak preview?
Of the painting,
Yeah.
what again? Okay, hold on.
Fine.
I
Yeah.
got it.
Okay.
I got it.
You did a little one in the beginning, but just a little bit. Ooh.
There it is. Is that pretty clear?
Yes. I mean, I can see it pretty clearly. Yeah.
Okay. So there it is in progress.
Cool. So official name coming soon, but we'll be sharing the finished piece also soon.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks, Seamus. Any final thoughts?
Enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks to everybody for joining, who's joined us.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.